They left town and I didn't want to leave with it. They moved those outfits, they moved to Canada, Texas, all over the world. So I didn't want to go with them, so I went back to work at the gas station.
How'd you get started with those guys? What made you?
That's a good question, I don't know. They were always looking for people, you know. Because Roundup was pretty much booming. If you wanted a job back then, you could always find a job.
How many people do you think lived in Roundup at that time?
Oh, I think there was probably about 3,500 people in Roundup
really?
at that time, yeah. Well, then even the littler towns around had more people then than they do now. You know, they weren't big towns, but some of the oil field and activity, you know, some of those people lived in those littler towns like Musselshell and Nelson. But if you wanted to work, you could find a job. Well, I went back to work for my dad at that gas station, and then I started working for the highway department. They were building a highway down by Musselshell, looking for people on survey crews. So I started with the highway department in 1958. Stayed with them, except I was in the Army for 2 years, but I stayed with the highway department for about 35 years.
So what made you go in the Army?
Got drafted.
You got drafted?
Uncle Sugar come looking for me.
Oh really? So where do you remember when you got drafted? Do you remember that day?
Yep.
You remember it pretty well?
Well, I remember when we went. You know, first we had to go to take our physicals. Everybody had to go to Butte. We went to Butte to take our physicals, and about 8 of us went together. And Francis Turley, who ended up being one of the best boxers, probably best boxer ever from Montana. And of the 8 of us that went together, he was the only one that flunked the physical.
Why is that?
He had flat feet, and they wouldn't take him because he had flat feet. He's a big burly guy that could kill any of us with his fists. He was always a boxer, a good one. You know, and we get back to Roundup, we all get our notices that we passed, and he got one said he didn't make it. And everybody, oh, how ironic can you be?
Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah. And then when I went to the Army, I had to go. We got home after that. You know, you don't go right in. You get your physical to see if you're fit to serve. Then later on, we got drafted. Some of us did. Some of us didn't. Never did. I don't know how it works. Some guys joined up rather than wait to get drafted.
So did you only had to serve 2 years?
2 years.
That was it.
But it was a good experience.
Yeah.
Afterward.
What do you remember?
Well, I went to France.
France? Huh.
First I went to Fort Ord, California for basic training. Then they send you to a school. I went to what they call an ammunition ordnance school. Then I went to France for, I don't know, about 19 months, 20 months, something like that.
Did you like France?
Well, some of it I did. Some of it's back, of course, that was the early 60s. There's a lot of stuff was pretty more crude than it is now. But it was a good experience.
What are some of the stories that you remember from that?
Oh wow, I can't tell you. No. Oh, it was different. Let's put it that way. A lot different. A lot of, you know, a kid from Montana going to Paris. You know, a big, beautiful city like Paris. You know, and from Montana, it's almost like going to the moon. You know, it's so different. A lot of beautiful stuff in France. It really is. The people are kind of hard to get to know, but
How'd you guys get over to France?
on a boat.
On a
A
boat?
stinky old troop ship. I went on 9 days on we called them barf buckets.
Oh no.
Yeah, that's how bad it was.
How long was the trip?
Huh?
How long was the trip to France?
9 days.
9 days?
9 days on the ocean.
Did you guys have to do all maintenance crew and stuff like that?
Oh, I served KP. Did you know what KP is?
No.
Well, you had to be on the serving line, on the chow line, you know, when everybody come through. And most everybody on the boat was sick. cause the water was so rough. We went over in the first part of April and they go where in the Atlantic can be pretty rough, you know, and then that time of year, it's really rough. You know, and everybody's sick. There's like 1,000 people on this boat, and they cook up enough meals for 1,000 people, probably only about 100 of them eat, the rest of them are all sick. It was just about that way all the way across the whole 9 days, but I wasn't sick, so man, I ate good, I'll tell you what. You have so much leftovers, you fed the sharks, most of it.
Really?
Yeah, if you can believe that.
Could you see the sharks going after
You could see
it?
it, you could see the tail fins coming after, when you dump the garbage, you could see them, they'd go after it, boy.
Huh.
They'd follow the boat, yeah. The ship wasn't.
So you didn't get sick at all?
I didn't get
No, you
sick,
didn't get
I don't know
seasick?
why, I never did get sick.
Huh.
But everybody
Strange,
else.
strange from a boy from Montana wouldn't get sick, and all these other guys will get sick.
Yeah, I always thought that was really strange.
Huh.
I never did get sick, I never got
Did
sick.
you like the sea besides being on the boat
Yeah.
with so much other?
Pretty boring, actually.
Really?
The only, well, there was a few exciting things like we went through a school, I guess you call it, of dolphins,
Mm.
and they were kind of like racing the ship for like, oh, I don't know, probably an hour.
Really?
Yeah, that was really something to see. All these dolphins going alongside the ship, going, you know, and they could go as fast as we could, or maybe faster. I don't know. That was exciting. But the rest of, except the weather most of the time was horrible. And the time that the dolphins were there, that was the only peaceful day I can ever remember being able to really get out and on the deck and watch things, you know, because usually it was going like that, you know, and a terrible feeling when you're not used to it, you know. When the bow of the ship goes up, you're trying to go up those stairways, you know, they don't call them stairs, I forget what they call them on the ship. Man, you can't hardly go. And then all of a sudden the bow drops, you fly up to the next flight. It's different.
How was your drill sergeant?
Oh,
Remember
you
him?
really only had a drill sergeant when you're in basic training.
Yeah.
And they were, the company I was in, what they call a company, like 250 guys.
Yeah.
We had really good ones. I really liked those guys. They,
Really?
you know, they knew what they were doing, and they basically do everything that we do. I mean, they're the boss, but
Yeah.
those guys, you knew they could do anything that they told you to do. I didn't have any problem with that at all. I liked those guys, and they treated us well. And, I mean, they were strict, but you did a lot of stuff that you didn't really want to do.
Yeah.
But,
You said you were kind of a troublemaker in high school, and
oh,
just a little bit, but like, did the army kind of shape you up a little bit, or not really?
I kind of did, in a roundabout way it did. When I finally got in the army, I finally decided that maybe I had to do something besides be a carouser all my life. Because I saw some of these guys in the army that they'd been in the army for 20 years, and basically they were just drunks.
Huh.
That's all they wanted, was have a place to sleep every night. And not many of them, don't get me wrong, there's a lot of good soldiers, but there'd be some of these guys after you get to what they call your permanent station, where you're going to stay for a while. You know, some of those guys have been in the army for 20 years and they're still privates, because they get to be get a promotion or something, then they'd go out and do something real stupid, and you know, and they'd get busted back to an E1. You know, they'd just go on a toot and don't come back to base, or do something really dumb like that. Then they get busted. Didn't bother them as long as they had a place. That was their life ambition: have a place to sleep in 3 squares a day. That's all they wanted out of life, and that's changed me more than the actual army itself. I see these other guys and thought, you want to be like that in 20 years? You don't have a pot to pee in, and you don't.
Yeah.
You know, that changed me more than the actual army life, or the training and stuff.
So what'd you do right after the army? Right after you got out?
Well, I went back to I worked for the highway department before I went in, and then when I was that's the one reason I waited to get drafted, because by law, they had to hire you back after you got out.
Oh, really?
So, then, after I got back from the army, then I went back to the highway department, and then I pretty much stayed there.
For how long?
Well, my total time was about 35 years. I started in 1958, and then I was in the army from 61 to 63, and then I was back from 1963 to 1992, I was back at the highway.
So while you were in the army, were you dating grandma?
No, well, actually, I started dating her a little bit the summer after she got out of high school.
And that, what year was that?
61. And then we went together pretty much that whole summer, and then I got drafted in November. Well, after she got out of high school, she wanted to go see the world a little, so she went to Minneapolis, but we went together that summer, and then she moved to Minneapolis. Then I got drafted, and we wrote to each other all the way through for the 2 years I was in the army. And then after I got home, she came back from Minneapolis, and so we went together for a year or so after I got out of the army before we got married.
You got married what year?
1964.
1964. And then, so 1964, and then you had your first son.
1968. Your dad was our firstborn. You were born 68.
And you guys were living at where at this time in those 4 years? In the span of 4 years.
Well, when we found out she was going to have a baby, we bought a house. We lived in a couple apartments, and
In Billings or?
in Billings. Yeah, we lived in Billings. Even though I worked for the highway, I worked out of town a lot, but we lived in Billings.
So when did you first move to Billings? What year was that?
Well, I first moved to Billings in '59, but it was kind of a temporary thing, that when you work on construction, you're a different town there, you're one town for a couple months. And then when you do survey, before you do road construction, you do what they call a location survey, and you go to a town and you run the line and you do all the planning to where to put the highway and all that stuff. But you're never in a town very long, but my headquarters, I lived in Billings until off and on from 1959 to 61. But I still kind of, my home base was in Roundup, and I'd stay with my folks I don't know, that's kind of complicated how that works.
Yeah.
But it was Billings basically from 59 to 61.
So what brought you to Billings instead of Roundup? Just
Well, the headquarters for the highway department that was here in Billings.
Oh.
So we worked out of Billings all the time. Even if you were in another town, you always had to come to Billings to get supplies and to get your survey vehicles serviced and stuff like that.
So in 1968, you guys moved into a house, and where was the house at?
It was on Nimitz Drive.
Nimitz Drive?
Yep. Brick house. Paid $17,000.
Really?
Can you believe that?
Uh-uh.
You can't even buy a car for that, no.
No. Wow.
And it was a nice little house too. It's a brick house, 1,300 square foot, had a garage. Well, we thought we were really doing something. That was big change.
Big change. And then you had another son. What year?
Jerry was born in 72.
72.
April or 72, I think.
How many? So then, did you guys move into another house after that, or did you guys live in the same house?
No, we were still in the same house until your dad was going to be in the first grade, and we decided they had a walk to school over there. They didn't have a bus thing, and it had, from that neighborhood, the connection to get to school wasn't very good. So we thought a good time to build a house. So then that's when we moved to the Heights, 1970. let's see, your dad was born in 60.